understand. That's our culture, our heritage, and that's our language. And so I want to thank everyone for joining us today for this is my second annual lecture. This is my second lecture that I've had here in Kansas City. Just a little brief introduction about myself. I'm Precinct Officer of Ofc.Malak. I'm the camp leader here in charge of Kansas City. I'm the commanding general honor. This is my second lecture. The first lecture I had, thanks to Captain Malak, the same thing that Captain Gargabar said in his lecture. I would like to thank Captain Malak for pushing us to bring life into our cities with these lectures. I see the brother and his beautiful family over here. I believe we met at Juneteenth, right? Yes, sir. Damn right. I gave the brother the flyer. We handed the flyers out like crazy, man. And I'm glad brothers and sisters are coming in here. You understand? So most high Christ to you, brother. Thank you, and to your rib and to your lovely family. I pray to see more brothers and sisters coming here from the world, because that's what we're doing this for. We're doing this for our people, educating our people, teaching them our history, our culture, and why it's so important to teach our young ones, our babies, their history and their culture. Everyone understands. So I spent 4 years in the DMV region under the tutelage of Captain Dr. Shah, who's in charge of the Virginia camp. You know, that's why I came into the truth from the oppressor's military. I heard the truth on deployment. I was on deployment in Operation Inherent Resolve in the Persian Gulf and Middle East in 2016. And it was this brother who was on deployment with me. And I would always hear him talk about, the Bible. And I was raised Christian. And so I never really heard the scriptures he was breaking down. He was talking about Songs of Solomon, Job, and he was breaking it down how the Jews are black, the Israelites are black. And I never heard anybody say that before. I really didn't even know, I didn't know too much about the Israelites. You know, as black people, especially from the tribe of Judah, the only thing we know about the Israelites is how you doing. The only thing we know about the Israelites are the movie 10 Commandments with Yul Brynner, right, that oppressor. Right. Like, that's really all we really know about the Israelites. So when I heard this brother talk about he was from Georgia. I heard this brother talk about the Israelites. And I was like, man, like, you mind sharing me some of those scriptures? Sharing me some of the things that you learned? And he straight up and down told me he learned from the ISUPK. And I was like, well, who was that? So when we got back home from deployment, I went to the library that was on base. And I just started searching ISUPK. And the first video that popped up was a Captain Malak in D.C. Give Captain Malak in the D.C. store a hand. The first video that popped up was Captain Malak speaking to a sister who had committed abortions. And I have never seen anybody say anything I've never seen brothers really take a stand against oppression for our people. And when I saw Captain Malak speak, and I saw how in order the brothers were, I really just took I can't say take a liking, but it was something in my spirit. I was like, man, what is this? And it made me want to search for more and more. And before you know it, while I had that oppressor's uniform on, I came into the school and I got my name. And a few months after that, man, I got was raised up to an officer of 50 in the school, and the rest is history from there. So that's just a little bit about myself. Thanks to Captain Malak, I let him know, like, sir, I'm from Kansas City originally. I was just stationed in Virginia, but on my way here, before we moved here, I told Captain Malak, it's a lot out of one, but me and my family moving there. He said, well, come on, brother, we got work to do. So that's what I'm here doing, is just doing the work that Captain Malak and the other men above me have done before me. Everyone understands. So most high Christ and the water to you, Captain Malak. The water to Captain Gargabar. I just saw walk in, I don't know who left, but the water to him as well. So let's keep going, all right? So as you saw, as everyone knows, today is the lecture's topic is Black and Brown Excellence, which I think is is pointed right now because there is an attack on our brown sisters and brothers. Like, if you haven't noticed, y'all was telling me when y'all pulled up from Chicago, he said that the sister over here told me this is a high populated Latino area, and it is. Like, everyone around here is from the south of the border. You understand? They're from Puerto Rico, they're from Cuba, they're from Mexico. This is Independence Avenue is south of the border. You understand? Northeast this is the area we're in, is south of the border. And so I was thinking, well, that's perfect because our oppressor, like the president of the United States right now, Donald Trump, he's in office and he's waged war against our brothers and our sisters from the tribe of Issachar, the tribe of Asher, the tribe of Zebulun, the tribe of Ephraim and Manasseh. He's waged war against us. And when he wages war against our brothers and sisters from those tribes, we're all one family. He wages war against them. He wages war against all of us. And so I think this is a perfect topic to combat the misinformation that so many of our people have about our own people. A lot of us, some of the things I'm going to go over today, and it's real brief. You see, Salakia, it's 12:15. We're gonna try to be out of here by 1:30. Not be out of the library, but I'll try to be done by 1:30. But the things that I'll bring out today A lot of this, for the most part, until I came into the ISUPK and the Commander General, I never saw before. I never knew before. I knew about, Rosa Parks and Dr. King, because that's what they teach us every year for Black history. But as a child coming up in the world and in the Christian church, I never knew a lot of the things that I'm going to go over today. And I'm sure a lot of the brothers and sisters that are watching, whether in here or online, they won't be familiar with it either. So my job is hopefully to reach these three major points. This is what we plan to cover today. First is the importance to educate our people about our culture and our history. Because like I just mentioned, growing up in the world, growing up under the tutelage of the Christian church or the Muslim mosque, or just being in the world, we as Blacks, Hispanics, and Native Indians, we are the one people that everyone tells us to forget about our past, forget about our history. Slavery's in the past. What happened to us was in the past. What affected us was in the past. Everyone else gets to remember their own history. And if we're going to go in just a little bit on the first point of psychologically how that affects us, how it affects our children, how it affects us in our age as we get older. Because every other race of people, they're allowed to have self-pride. They're allowed to be pride, have racial pride, and be proud in the achievements that their people made. And so the first point we're going to go over is just why is it important? It may seem like it's just a history lesson. We just finished celebrating Juneteenth, right? A lot of our people just finished celebrating Juneteenth. Well, what is Juneteenth? A lot of our people that was out there don't know what Juneteenth was about. They don't know about the slaves or the history of our the pioneers and innovators from our own race. And when I say our race, I mean Black and brown race, the Hispanics as well as the North American Indian. Everyone understands. So we're going to go over why it's so important, psychologically why it's important, the esteem of it all, because every other race gets power through learning about their history. They're empowered by it. You can't tell me that when our oppressor goes to school and he learns about the Alamo or the Revolutionary War or Pearl Harbor, he gets pride when he sees that American flag. He gets pride when he goes to an NFL game or a college football game and they say, I pledge allegiance to the flag. He gets pride in learning about George Washington. He gets pride in learning about their forefathers. Some Arab, I'm sure he gets proud to learn that algebra was created by the Arabs. I'm sure some Chinese is proud of the Mongol Empire. They conquered over half of East Asia. I'm sure they take pride in that. What do our people have pride in? Slavery, being oppressed, lynchings. Those are the things that we have always been beating in our head. They put Roots on every February. Roots, and what's the other one? It's all those slave shows. And all that does is ruin our self-esteem. All it does is make us think that all we're good for is to work, is slavery, is to be oppressed, and that's not the case. So we're going to go over the importance of why we should esteem ourselves and the knowledge of our own history. The second thing we're going to go over is learning the true history behind some of the most influential and forgotten about Blacks, Hispanics, and Native Indians. A lot of the technology we use, a lot of the medical advancements that benefit us on a day-to-day basis, we don't know who invented it. We don't know what race of people were behind it. All we know is we use it. We use it. And so we're going to go over some of the most, influential. And when I say influential, I mean they changed the course of history. With this medical advancement, this brother, this sister changed the course of history. With this technology, they changed the course of history. So we're going to go over that. And then lastly, we're going to go over how we can impact the next generation. What's so important about learning our history is now how do we use that, what we know about ourselves, all of the achievements and advancements, how that's going to benefit us and impact us. What are the solutions? What is it that we can do right now in Kansas City for all of the brothers and sisters who are not in the truth? What can you do to impact your children? That's the last point we're going to go over. All right. Okay, so first, Black and brown history is important. That goes without saying. Well, I can't say that. It doesn't go without saying. Because if you were to ask the average Black person, if you were to ask the average Native Indian on the res, they would tell you, well, who cares? Me and Elisha, the brothers here, Kunaya, the brothers here in Kansas City, we do interviews. We go out on the streets throughout the week and we ask brothers and sisters so many questions. Questions just trying to get engaged with what our people's mind, what is inundating our people's mind? What are the fundamentals of what we believe as a people? Because we are all over the place. Like the Bible says, we're scattered abroad. You understand? We're scattered and we destroy for the lack of knowledge. We don't really have knowledge of anything other than what can please me today. How can I get more money? What can satisfy my need? What can satisfy my lust? Our people are in a state of survival. And because we've been oppressed and we're in a state of survival, a lot of us don't really have the luxury of time to be concerned with Charles Drew, be concerned with Gladys West, be concerned with, the four brothers that fought right alongside John Brown on the quest to begin the Civil War. There's a lot that goes on that we just don't have the luxury of time like other races do. You know, these oppressors out here jumping out of perfectly good airplanes, brothers and sisters. Our oppressor will go hunt in the wilderness. He will pour the urine of a cow elk on him, wait 3 days in the woods to go hunt. Who has that time when you have to work 2 slaves, 2 jobs? Who has that time when you're worried about ICE, the oppressor's deportation agency, coming to snatch your abuela or abuelito or abuelo? Right. Who has time for that? Right. A lot of us don't. We don't have the time. Right. So now we're going to go over why it is so important. So first, as you see the scriptures in the Bible, of course, everything we do is Bible-based. This is our school, and this is what we teach, the truth of the Bible. Because growing up in the world, when you read this, you look over things like this. We're going to start with Deuteronomy 32:7. It says, remember the days of old. Consider the years of many generations. Ask thy father, and he will show thee. Thy elders, and they will teach thee. The first thing that scripture says is, remember the days of old. What does that mean? Learning and remembering your past. Right. Well, how can our posterity remember our past if all we're taught, all is put in our mind, is just slavery? It's just the terrible things that occurred to us, the atrocities that occurred to us. If all our children think about is that, if all they're inundated with is Cardi B and what we believe to be our culture, which we'll get into in a second, because a lot of what our children believe to be our culture is really our oppressors' culture. Right. The gang culture, that's not our culture. Right. The get high culture, that's not our culture. Like all the things that the whore culture, where a woman would take all her clothes off, sell her body just to feed her family, sell her body and show her body just for attention. That's not our culture. Right. Not taking care of a woman being a terrible mother. That's not our culture. Right. In slavery, black women took care of the Black House and the White House. Right. Like we are the people who are kind, who are nice, who are sweet, who love people. This is why remembering the days of old is so important. The Lord commanded us to do this. We have to remember where we come from. How do you do it? Consider the years of many generations. Ask thy father. Like who your father is so important to the Lord. Right. If we can't, if our oppressor has oppressed us so much to the point where our sisters take us out of the house, then there are no fathers to ask questions to. You don't get that experience. Anybody here from the South? Anybody? Oh, all of our families here from the South. I know Maya, you are. Where are you from in the South, Maya? Mississippi. That's perfect. I got a point about cotton in just a minute. A little bit later, we're going to talk about Cotton Eye, the king that ruled America and fueled the earth for so long that was off the backs of our forefathers. What part of Mississippi are you from, Maya?
Slightly, sir. I'm deep south of the Delta, a little bit outside Jackson, a small town called Cary, Mississippi.
Cary, Mississippi.
I grew up around Cottonville.
Oh, I know every brother. Have y'all noticed that? Every brother or sister that say they from, I was about to call it Cotton. Every brother or sister that say they from Mississippi, they all grown up around cotton fields. Being from here in Missouri, I didn't see cotton fields until I went to Virginia. When I was stationed in VA, I saw cotton fields for the first time because Virginia was the South. Mississippi and Alabama, those states, Georgia, South Carolina, North Carolina, they picked cotton. That's what our forefathers did. Well, listen, if you're a brother or sister from the South, you understand the old Judites, where the old grandparents would sit around and they would tell you stories. Those old Judite proverbs, where they'll tell you, you play with a dog, it'll lick you in the mouth. Don't you play with kids. You know, you living high on the hog. They'll teach you stories. We don't have fathers to teach us anymore. Right. The scripture says, ask thy father, which is why it's so important what Commander Juliana is doing in the ISUPK. You look out and see brothers on the streets that are fathers, not just to maybe, they may not have biological kids, but they're fathers to a race of people. Right. Where you, a father, someone can come up to him, ask him a question, and he breaks it down. He teaches them. Right. He educates them. Brother, you may not want to go this way. Don't have sex. Don't marry a woman like this. Marry a woman like that. Don't, this baby girl, don't hang with these. I don't want you hanging with these girls. I don't like the way these girls, I don't like the way they act. I don't like the way they dress. You stay right here. Those sisters, that's who you need to hang around. That's a father. A father steers and guides children or people in the direction that the Lord wants them to go. That's what a good father does. The Bible says to ask thy father. Ask him about our history. Ask your father where we came from, Pops. That's what the Bible is saying. You know it was written by blacks, Hispanics, and Native Indians. This is how we talk. Hey, Pops, can you break down? Listen, I got a funny story real quick, right? I didn't find this out until like yesterday. My father, I was over one of my uncle's house, which, by the way, he picked cotton in Arkansas. One of my uncles, my father's oldest brother. My father was over there, man, and he was telling me, he said, he was talking about his father, my grandpa. He said, boy, Daddy always told us, don't eat because they from Louisiana. My father's family is from deep in Louisiana. And he said, boy, Daddy used to tell us, don't you trust no spaghetti from no Cajun woman. Don't you eat no spaghetti from no woman. And he said when he was in the oppressor's army, he was stationed in Fort Polk, Louisiana. And he said that it was a sister down there he was trying to get with who had a 3-year-old son, and she made him spaghetti. He said, I got to pass on that. He ain't going to catch me up. He said, boy, if I eat that spaghetti, I'll be somewhere in Louisiana, some man calling me daddy. So it's just story, like things like that. He said, my father taught me 2 things before I went to the army. Don't buy a prostitute and don't eat food. Don't eat spaghetti from a woman that cooked you spaghetti. Those are the 2 lessons his father gave me. That's better than nothing, Doc. So, that's better than some of us didn't grow with fathers at all. Right. Fathers that didn't teach us anything. Some of y'all would have ate that spaghetti. Right. And he said the boy would drink water out the toilet bowl. Ooh. Like, brother, we in bad shape, Bob. We need fathers. You understand? A father is someone who's going to steer his children in the right direction. Right. Who's going to teach them, raise them up right. Don't do this. Don't do that. Follow this. Do this. That's the importance of fathers. The Bible says to ask thy father, and he will show thee thy elders. Have anybody been on Instagram lately? Shalom, Kevin, what's going on, my Lord? Have anyone been on Instagram lately? Have anybody seen TikTok? Anybody seen our culture? Right. Our culture is a poor culture. The elders of our people don't want to be old. There used to be a time where people who was older, who were elders, you knew they were elders. They slid their feet when they walked. They had gray hair. They carried themselves in a certain way. They didn't have the same outfit an 18-year-old girl would wear. The brothers didn't have on tight jeans at 50 years old. Right. Skinny jeans at 60 years old, trying to be hip and trying to be cool. You're 60, you're 50. That time is done. You can't be cool anymore. Everyone understand, like, this is what elders are important for, because they have wisdom. Right. Elders have seen things. They've lived through things. They know. That's why, if I could, to just sidebar for a second, if you see where the culture of witches, where you have some old woman sitting there telling some girl, well, Madam Claude, I think my man is cheating on me. He let the son beat him home. Well, that old lady that's sitting in the chair, she don't have no spiritual wisdom from the Lord. She's just an older sister who's been through things. She's had men go out and have sex with other women on her. So she's an old 70-year-old woman. She said, well, baby, let me look in this crystal ball. Yeah, he let the son beat you on. Well, yeah, listen, he was with that other girl you was thinking about. I could have told her that. Right. You could have told her that. Right. But because sisters don't have wisdom, because they don't have the wisdom from the Lord, they will go to older black women, which was a culture back in the 50s and 60s down in the South, really in the South, a witch's house. Where you go in there, paying some money. Well, can you tell me if my man is cheating? Can you tell me what's going on with my kid? Yeah, you got to do this. It's just they have wisdom. They've been around. Well, elders have been around. They know things that maybe a younger person wouldn't know. That's why the Bible says to consider, to ask them. They will show thee, and they will tell thee. Now, the other scripture I have here is in Psalm chapter 137 and 5. If I forget thee, O Jerusalem, let my right hand forget her cunning. If I do not remember thee, let my tongue cleave to the roof of my mouth. If I prefer not Jerusalem above my chief joy. This was King David. So if everyone is watching, if you don't know, King David was a black man. Right. He was a brother from the tribe of Judah. Right. He was a black man. The Jews are black. That was a lecture I had a couple years ago. The Jews are black. Well, King David was a Jew. And this brother, he's explaining why it is so important in a poetic fashion. He's explaining the importance of remembering his chief joy. There's nothing wrong with having racial pride. The Lord wants our people to have racial pride. That's why we're teaching this lecture. to give our people esteem in their culture, in the knowledge that we had once before, the inventions and the innovations that we created once before. Take pride in that. Take pride in knowing King David was a black man. These things are important. Like King David knew, if I forget thee, let my right hand forget her cunning. What does that mean? Then your right hand forget your cunning. He was a straight up and down soldier. And that brother back there, Ashai, or IG, our lumber bar, straight up a right hand. Where's Captain Bar? Those they got right hands from the Lord. Your garwap, that means fist from the Lord. That's what they had. They have a right hand, which is synonymous with killing, with unaliving, with smiting your enemies and the enemies of your people. Well, King David was so poetic. He said, if I don't remember Jerusalem, who's Jerusalem? His people. Right. If he does not remember his nation, if he doesn't have racial pride, if he forgets them, oh Lord, let me forget how to be a man. Let me forget how to slave the Philistines, how to slave the Hittites, how to slave the Amorites. Let me forget it. It's important. It's very important to remember your people. Once again, we go out and do interviews in the cities. And you see nationwide, whenever we interview, you can do it in Chicago on Magnificent Mile, St. Louis, here in Kansas City, LA, New York, London. Anywhere you go do interviews where our people are, everything will be a universal answer. You ask them about the importance of our history, you will get the same answer. They think chasing the bag is the most important thing in life. They believe being educated in school, some of them, not most of us, and getting an education, a higher education is great. But what about where you come from? What about who you are? What about what language you spoke before the slave ships? What about that? Like having an education is great, but that doesn't raise a family. You can't teach sons and daughters with the education you get in college. Right. That doesn't teach them what it means to be Black, Hispanic, Native Indian. It doesn't teach them what the Bible says about our culture. Why is it so important to learn our culture? That's why King David is using that same thing there. Let my right hand forget her cunning, and if I do not remember thee, let me not be able to speak clean to the roof of my mouth. Like, it's very important, brothers and sisters, to remember who we are. Who you are says something. Everyone understand? Come on. Here we go, right here. You know, I got the studies, right? So, effects of no racial pride. We are a people who are cursed. We can all see it. We're a people who are number one on drugs, I can't say number one on drugs. When people think we're infamous for being drug addicts, let me say that. Because we all know our oppressor, statistically, he's on drugs more than anybody. Right. He's on fentanyl more than anybody. Right? So that goes without saying. That's just, you can look it up. But who is known for being on drugs, who's known in the media for being, kooky and crackheads, is who? Our people. You know why that is? Because the people who we call our leaders, they have no racial pride. Jesse Jackson, Al Sharpton, Black religious leaders, they never taught us racial pride. The Christian church, the Black Christian church, they never taught us racial pride. It's very important to know who you are. So much so that our oppressor have done studies on why it is important to have self-esteem in your own members. Why it's important for your people to have self-esteem. This is one of the studies right here. It says here that this is breaking down what self-esteem is. In its broadest sense, is how much value a person places on his or herself. Self-esteem is related to a person's ability to hold a favorable attitude towards oneself and to retain such positive beliefs in situations that are challenging, especially situations that include being evaluated by others. Adults possessing high global self-esteem are more likely to have, for example, higher well-being, better social relations, and experience more job satisfaction than their counterparts. Having good self-esteem is healthy. It's mentally healthy for us. I got, in a few more slides, we're going to go over just the studies of what the oppressor went to Norway. He's done studies all over, Luxembourg and Europe, to study what the effects of having low and high self-esteem are. What's the effects of knowing who you are? How does that affect the people? How does it affect you to know I'm proud of where I come from? Who in here can say they're proud of where they come from? How many Black and Hispanic people? Oh, well, come on, I was like, oh, it's like you dad, Come on, Cardi, you proud? Listen, be proud. We know because we're the truth. But imagine the average brother or sister in the world. They don't know where they come from. We don't know who we are. We don't all, you know what it's like? It's like we were just born out of the wood of the slave ships. Our history goes back to slavery. That's it. That's what they teach us in school. That's what they teach us, anywhere. That's what our grandparents teach us. Well, my grandmother was a slave. Well, my grandfather was a slave. That's great to know that we were slaves. Why? Because the Bible has prophecies that the Israelites will be in slavery. So that's great to know. That's a part of our history. But brothers and sisters, that's not all of our history. That does more damage to not know who we are than it does good. It does damage to your self-esteem. It says something so heavy up here, I wanted to go back and read before we go to the next slide. It said, to retain such beliefs in situations that are challenging. You know something, I was watching, now I've seen her for years. Her name is Dr. Joy DeGruy. If anybody's ever seen her or heard of her, she has an amazing book. One of the books that I looked over and one of her lectures that I watched before even doing this. And I did that because she goes in so hard on post-traumatic slave disorder. Have anybody ever heard that before? You heard that? Anybody heard that post-traumatic slave disorder? That's a real psychological evaluation that psychiatrists have done on our people. They've done psychological evaluations to say, when we're put in challenging situations, the reason we react so violently, the reason we react like this, the reason this happens or we do this is because of our slavery that we've had. Because of the slavery now that we've been subjugated under. Like anybody know, like whenever black people like to laugh and they cover their mouth when they laugh, you know about that, huh? Because you're preaching the truth. Brothers and sisters in the world don't know. Brother, do you know? Do you know why? The reason we cover our face when we laugh is because a long time ago in slavery, there was something called laughing barrels. Mm-hmm. And black people could not be seen laughing in public. You would have to stick your head inside of a barrel to laugh. So it's like a shame. Like I don't want to show my oppressor my teeth. Right. Whistling when all these things are common knowledge now because of the internet. But since 1969, the truth was revealed to the ISU Canada Commander General. And we did the research and knew these things. And now we've been teaching our people so much, the Lord have opened up the airways. Right. Now our people can learn these things. We have these lectures. Now people can learn these things. Somebody, you got a question, brother? Okay, I was going to say, also, I'm going to say that at the beginning. Please, if you don't mind, save your questions and your comments for the end. We're going to have a segment about 15 minutes, 10 minutes before the end, where you can ask all the questions you want and you can comment on whatever you want to comment about in regards to this lecture. So if you have a question, if you don't mind, just please save it for the end. That goes to online too. For anybody watching online, y'all got questions, y'all better read the questions off, it don't matter, right? So much of what we do is because of cognitively, that's the right word. I ain't no slug, I ain't Jeremiah. I ain't no, I ain't one of those nutty nut psychiatrists that live in, Luxembourg in Germany. I'm not Alfred Adler, and I'm not, I'm none of those cats. But I just listen to the men above me that have such wisdom in these things, and in the research that we do before we do these lectures. We know the history and the proof, the psychological proof of why we react and behave the way we do. You don't know why. It was another thing she discussed. She discussed every black person and Hispanic and Native Indian in this room would know this to be true. You ever was out at a bank and you have your kids with you, or you out at the store and you have your kids with you? Even if you don't have kids, when you were a kid, did your mother or father say, don't go over there, come back, come over here. Don't do this. No, come back over here, don't do that. You see, as a little kid, all the white kids running around. They running them up. And you know what we think in our minds? They're misbehaving. They're kids. You see what Commander Juliana say, let the kids run around. Because he knows psychology. He's a prophet of God. Our people have been so damaged by slavery. What happens in slavery when your kids go off and you don't see them? You won't see them again. Right. It's something that's in us that we don't know is in us because we don't learn our history. We don't know, we don't have the esteem, the high self-esteem that other races do to deal with challenging situations. Our oppressor and the heathen, the Arab, the African, the other races of people are so privileged that their children can roam. They don't have to tell them, come back. You see an Arab kid, an African kid, a white kid, especially our oppressor's children. They just run around. A white kid will come up to you. They'll start telling you stories. The sisters I know and mothers, they know. They'll just start talking to you about, my mother, she told me I'm not supposed to do this. But you know what? I'm a 6-year-old little oppressor. 6-year-old little white person, little white girl, little white boy. They'll come up to you and just start talking to a stranger because they're secure knowing what? Their father has power. Right. And Arabs kids come to you and start talking to a stranger, their daddy has power. Our people don't have power, so all we have the power to do is to hinder the growth of a child. She goes in, if anybody ever wants to watch that, please do. I mean, I probably should have put a clip in there because it is such an amazing and profound study that she did over 7 years. She wrote a whole book about it called Post-Traumatic Slave. She wrote 3, if I'm not mistaken. She wrote 3 books about post-traumatic slave disorder. Her name, if anyone's typing it in their phone, is Dr. Joy, Joy DeGruy. She's from Louisiana too, Degrui. And she goes on to just break down. And you know what I started to do? When I listened to that, even as a prophet of God, I started to get sad. I started, tears ain't fall from my face. You know, I'm still a man. You know what I mean? I'm still one West. Right. I can't imagine Captain Mark wanting to take my damn ring. I'm crying over watching some videos. I can't get caught doing that. So like, Captain the dog will say, "What the hell are you doing, Doc? Are you crying? Are you kidding me? Get me right on this, Doc. Are you crying when you watching the video?" So like, I ain't crying out of one, but it moved me damn near to tears. Because as she's breaking down the things that affect us, it's like, this was my life. This is what we experience as Black people. Our parents told us you better not do that. She just was breaking down so many scenarios, and then she went back to the scenario of one that really, really struck me. And I know a lot of us, because our mothers weren't always the best mothers. They did the best they could. But you ever got good grades in school where you did something positive in life, and then some oppressor at your school or principal, she says, wow, Jamal is really doing good, and Malik is really doing good in school. You know, so-and-so, your daughter, your son is doing so well in school. What did your mother say? Anybody want to give me an answer on what your mother said? When someone complimented you on your good behavior, when a white person complimented you on your good behavior, what did your mother say in response? Or what do you know for a Black woman who's in the world to say in response? Anyone want to give it a try? Everyone knows what it is. The sister back there shook her head. You want to give it a try, sis? With the puff ball on the head, you know, okay, no sweat, sis. Anybody else want to give it a try? You know what she would say? Oh, what? Malik? No. You should see him at home. He misbehaves. Look at him. He need a whooping right now. She would go into a defense mode of being negative. Am I talking to myself? Does anybody know what I'm talking about? Do y'all know? Y'all mother, come on now. They would, no, with him, what? She would act surprised, like, what? No, not my son. Guess what that did to your self-esteem as a young Black boy? My mom don't even believe in me. Little do you know, she didn't do that because she wanted to. That was her post-traumatic slave disorder from having low self-esteem, from not learning about her people. You know what happened in slavery? Whenever a white woman, a mistress or a master would come up to your mother in slavery 200 years ago, he would say, Shaniqua, that Jamal, he sure is coming along. Look at his big hands. Right. His hands are so big. Look at those hands. You'll be a baby in your mother's arms and she's picking cotton. Some oppressor will come up to your mother and say, ooh, he gonna make a fine cotton picker. That nigga there gonna make a fine cotton picker. I see him, he's 5 years old now. Is he learning from the blacksmith how to, ooh, he gonna be so good in the field? What would your mother say? Oh no, master, he's so dumb. He's dumb. He's stupid, he's dumb. He don't know what he's doing. No, master. Why? Because she's trying to save your life. Right. She's trying to save your life. That is how deep our oppression goes from not knowing who we are. You blamed your mother thinking, I grew up a drug dealer because I had such a terrible mom. You don't even realize that your mother was just doing what was innate in her because of how much oppression we've been under this devil, our oppressor. Right. You don't even understand it. We don't understand it until we come into the truth. But that is a real thing. Let's keep going. I read all that. We're going to move on from that. So here was the study, right? And remember, what did that do to your self-esteem as a little boy? It ruined it. It killed it. Your own mama don't believe in you. What she expects you to do? Gonna be a pediatric neurosurgeon? Your mama don't even believe in you. And she's shocked that you sold drugs. What else was I supposed to do, Mom? What else was her daughter? She's like, what? That fast-tailed heifer. She ain't, this little girl, you don't want her. In slavery, I learned this from Mississippians. There was a brother who played basketball for the LA Lakers. I forget his name. He won the Supreme Court case so that 17-year-olds and 18-year-olds out of high school can go straight from high school to the pros. This was in the 70s. He played with Kareem Abdul-Jabbar and Magic Johnson. They got it on a show called Showtime on HBO Max, right? This brother picked cotton in Mississippi in the 40s and the 50s. And he says something in one of the interviews. He said that when his sisters were young, when they got to around the age of 10, his mom would send the girls in the family to Chicago from Mississippi. You know why? Because she's going to be a comfort girl for some white man in the 50s. She's going to have, some white man is going to have your 13, 14-year-old daughter as just his sex slave. That's how common it was. So that's what they had to do. He said, well, mama used to go to the bus station, but she couldn't be caught seen at the bus station. Because if you caught seen by another white person at the bus station, they would bring you back to the plantation. She had to be doing it in the night. Seek her daughters or her sons to get a better life in Chicago, a better life in St. Louis, a better life in Detroit. Here we are, the children of slaves, and we just don't know the effects that the low self-esteem has on us. That's why we deal with the situations the way we do. It ain't because we're some animals, like who was that? Hillary Clinton called us predators. We're not some super predators. That's not who we are, Black and Hispanic people. We're not bad hombres, La Raza. That's not who we are. We are a royal people, a holy people. That's who we really are. We're a special people. Everyone understand? This was a study done right here on the effects of the self-esteem issue that we're dealing with. It says longitudinal data were obtained from a sample of 201 adolescents aged 13 to 18, referred to the Department of Child and Adolescent Psychiatry in Trondheim, Norway. Like I just said, they did this on white children. Because you know what's something I learned about our oppressor brothers and sisters? I've learned that our oppressor sees the effects of us. He sees how we grow up. He sees how we live. And he changes everything in his society so that his people don't end up like us. Why do you think that sister, Brittany Griner, why do you think that she was taken to prison in Russia for an ounce of weed? Anybody want to give it a shot? Why? Because Vladimir Putin sees Harlem. Right. He sees Oblak. He sees Chicago. Right. He doesn't want Moscow to be Oblak. Right. He doesn't want Russia to be Kansas City. He doesn't want Russia to be, another place? St. Petersburg, Russia to be St. Louis. Right. He doesn't want that. So what does he have to do? He has to make sure he does everything in his power so that his people don't end up like our people, even if it means making it illegal to have an ounce of weed on you. Right. That's the reason why. Well, listen, they did a study in Norway. It's nothing but oppressors in Norway. In the baseline study, the initial study, self-esteem and symptoms of anxiety, depression, and attention problems were measured by means of self-report. Participants were reassessed 3 years later with a participation rate of 77% in the clinical sample. Now, this was the baseline study. I don't believe I put in here the study that was right before the conclusion. They interviewed over 9,000 children, and they broadened the age from 13, 18 to 12 to 21, just so they can study the effects of self-esteem on children. How you grow up when you don't know who you are. How you grow up when you don't understand the mysteries of life. When you don't have a father, how would you grow up? If you don't have good self-esteem, if you don't have a mother and father telling you, you're such a good boy, good job, you're doing such a good job, son, you're doing such a good job, daughter. If you don't have that, this is what happens. The present study demonstrates that clinically assessed adolescents with high self-esteem suffer fewer symptoms, surprise, surprise. They suffer fewer symptoms of anxiety, depression, and attention problems overnight. What's another word for attention problems? ADHD. Right. How many black boys have been diagnosed with ADHD? Right. Some of us in this room right now at 50, 40, and 30 diagnosed with ADHD. Why? Why aren't white boys diagnosed with ADHD at the rate black boys and Hispanic boys are? Because they have esteem in Pearl Harbor. They have esteem in George Washington. They have esteem in Thomas Jefferson. They have esteem in America and Trump and the Republican and Democratic Party. They can take esteem in. Why Arab boys don't ever get ADHD? Have you ever met an Arab who had said, yeah, I got diagnosed with ADHD? Why don't Africans? Right. They have pride in where they come from and who they are. What do you expect from some black and Hispanic boys? For them to have pride in what? The ghetto? Right. From them to have pride in their mother, who is a woman of ill repute? Is that what you expect for us to have pride in what exactly? There's no one around to teach us our history without the ISUPK. Who are we supposed to learn from in the world? Who's supposed to teach us the truth about the brothers and sisters who have overcame slavery and overcame so much to create things that make life better for us? Who are we supposed to learn it from? Donald Trump in American government, he makes, what is it called, critical race theory illegal. Guess who made the critical race theory bill illegal in Florida? A black pastor, a female black pastor. Y'all don't remember that? 2 years ago, General Hyman brought that out. A female black pastor was the one who went to the Florida Senate or Florida Congress, and she proposed a bill to remove Black history taught in Florida schools. You know why? Because it makes white people uncomfortable. Right. That's no, you know, listen, she's an ignorant woman, but guess what? I don't blame her. Why? Because she has post-traumatic slave disorder just like the rest of us. She don't know who the hell she is. She thinks she's a white woman. She's just back on the plantation trying to make massa, trying to make Big Daddy happy. That's all that's in her mind. That's all in the sister's mind in the world. I won't fault her. I fault the Christian church. Because this is something they should have taught us. Right. They should have gave us esteem. Instead, they told us to love our oppressor. Donald Trump, Dr. King, they both love wars. Dr. King, he got beat in the face by oppressors and told 16 and 17-year-olds to just turn the other cheek. Well, what do you think that did for their long-term esteem? You think that made them feel good? Who are the people, who are the generation that came after the civil rights marchers? Drug dealers, drug addicts in the 80s. Those were the kids of the ones who marched with Dr. King. It seems like all of that turning the other cheek for your oppressor, it didn't do too well and bode well for who we are. You see that? So now let's keep going. It says, and attention problems over time, indicating that self-esteem acts as a resilience factor against such symptoms. Would you look at that? Having high self-esteem, knowing who you are, having racial pride, it allows you to be resilient against things that come your way. That's why you think our oppressor is so confident. He's so confident because he can be resilient against oppression if it comes his way, because he knows when oppression happened to him with the Greeks and Alexander and the Romans, when it happened to him with the Civil War, what did his people do? They fought. They fought and they won. Well, what kind of esteem do you think our oppressor as a 3-year-old child has, a 5-year-old child has? Well, they feel good about themselves. And it allows them to be resilient against anything. Everyone understand? Now let's keep going. I want to finish that. And that outcome of both anxiety, depression symptoms, and attention problems among adolescents. Let's keep going. Right, here we go. Back to our problem of esteem. Right? In the 1940s, psychologists Kenneth and Mamie Clark designed and conducted a series of experiments known colloquially as the doll test to study the psychological effects of segregation on African American children. Is anyone familiar with this study that was done? If you're in the UPK, I know you're familiar. This is the study that General Hyman ordered all of us, if you have children, to do this doll test with them. He said, do it. And you'll be surprised at the result of what your child will choose. We'll get to the video in just a second. So this was a married couple who were both psychologists. Black. Now remember, they were black. These aren't white. Kenneth and Mamie Clark are not white. They're black. What happened in the 1940s? The Brown versus Board of Education. That happened in the 50s, right? Well, in the 40s, the oppressor, not our oppressor, but yeah, the oppressor said we're separate but equal. That was Plessy versus Ferguson here in Missouri 100 years before Brown versus Board of Education. Well, Kenneth and Mamie Clark, two black doctors, they wanted to prove to our oppressor why we need to be integrated into their school system. Now remember, this is in the 1940s. Someone blow my mind with this answer. Where did Kenneth and Mamie Clark go to school to become doctors? Did they go to a white school to become doctors? Go ahead, Mario.
So they went to an HBCU.
Say it again.
They went to an HBCU.
Say it one more time.
They went to an HBCU.
Give the brother a hand. Here it is. This is how damaging self-esteem is, low self-esteem is. This is how damaging not knowing who you are and where you come from is. Two black doctors in the 1940s who went to HBCUs, who got their doctorate from black schools, who went to black schools, they developed a test just to prove to our oppressor why our children need to be integrated into white schools. That's how much we hate ourselves because of the oppression we're under and because we don't know our history and who we are.
Right.
Doctors Clark, so both doctors, use 4 dolls, identical except for color, to test children's racial perceptions. Their subjects, children between the ages of 3 to 7, were asked to identify both the race of the dolls and which color doll they prefer. A majority of the 3 children preferred the white doll and assigned positive characteristics to it. The Clarks concluded that prejudice, discrimination, and segregation created a feeling of inferiority among African American children and damaged their self-esteem. Brother, that is amazing. Their whole entire premise their major premise was what? Black children have low self-esteem. Their minor premise was black children should join schools with white children. Their syllogism, their conclusion was black children need to go to school with white children to have better self-esteem. That is what they concluded as 2 black doctors who went to black schools. Let's go over the video. That's sad, brother. That's sad. The doll test was only one part of Dr. Clark's testimony in Brown versus Board of Education. It did not constitute the largest portion of his analysis, an expert report. His conclusions during his testimony were based on a comprehensive analysis of the most cutting-edge psychology scholarship of the period. This brother here and this sister, his wife, they wanted black children to go to school, white kids, so we can have better self-esteem. Now, to you in 2025, what does that sound like? For you in 2025, when you hear, my children need to join, I don't want to use that word. That'll give you the answer. My children need to be around white people in order for them to feel better about themselves. That is what their conclusion is. What does that sound like to you? If you, go ahead.
Immigration.
No, I'm not asking what that, absolutely, give them a hand. It absolutely is integration. Yes, that's integration. But you have something you want to say about it now? Go ahead, my man.
Stockholm Syndrome.
Give the brother a hand. That's Stockholm Syndrome. Someone who wants to be around the oppressor. Remember, this was in the 40s. What was going on in the 40s? Lynchings were happening in the 40s.
Right.
Reese Taylor, a black woman who was violently, I don't know if I can say that word because we're going live, but she was violently abused by 8 white men that was Mississippi, I believe, or Alabama. That was going on in the 40s. Emmett Till, that was going on in the 40s. Young black and Hispanic boys going missing, being violated, sisters being violated, lynched, strung up from trees, strange fruits. That was happening while they were saying that black children need to be around our oppressor more. We should be around, you know what we should do? I see Reese Taylor, I see Emmett Till, I see the way the KKK are so violent against black peaceful Christians. You know what we should do, baby? You know what we should do? What was her name? Mamie. You know what we should do, Mamie? Our children need to be around white people more. That's a sickness. That's an illness that we all suffer from. It's called Stockholm Syndrome. Also, PTSD, post-traumatic slave disorder. This is the effects. Now, this is what I want you to notice too. Notice this, they weren't born in the 90s, Mamie and Dr. Clark. They weren't born in the 2000s. So you can't have that argument of, this generation just don't know. This generation is so terrible. This generation just is so lost. Yes, well, the other generation was so lost. Black people who was born in the 40s and the 50s, they were very lost. Now you see why the Bible says there is no new thing under the sun. Right. We have always wanted to go back to Egypt. We have always wanted to love our oppressor. From the days of Korah and Dathan all the way to the Reconstruction era after the 1900s. In the 1940s, when they were witnessing atrocities happen to our people, they still wanted to integrate with our oppressor. That's the sickness that we have. Now I'm going to play the video. All right? I got to exit out to play it, I believe. Yeah, I'm going to exit out to play it.
Which doll is the black doll? And which one is the white doll? Which doll is the pretty doll? Which doll is the nice doll? Which doll is the bad doll? Which doll is the nice doll? Which doll is the bad doll? And why is that doll pretty?
Because she's white and she has 2 eyes.
Which doll is the ugly doll? Why is that doll ugly?
Because he's black.
Which doll looks most like you?
Like me.
Yeah, which one looks like you?
And that one.
Okay. Stop right there. Now, what do you think is going through it? What is going through your mind right now? Does anybody want to raise their hand and tell me what's going through your mind right now? Go ahead, brother.
I'm just hurt by that.
Get a brother a hand. Hurt, and you're hurt. Why are you so hurt by that?
The reality of it.
Reality meaning what? What just happened right here in this video? What just happened? It don't have to be the same, brother. Anybody can answer. What just happened? So go ahead. So I get sister trying to get in our shot. I'm gonna get to you right after you. So I'm gonna hold your spot for you. Right? We just watched. I got you, sir. So like, give me 1 second, okay? I'm gonna get to our shot. I'm gonna get to you, sir. We just watched the doll test right in front of our eyes. This is not the one from the 40s, but the same thing happened in the 40s. This doll test, they have a black doll and a white doll. These are black children they're asking this question to. He just said, name me who's the ugly doll, who's the pretty doll. Point to him. Who's what else did he say? Ugly, pretty, bad, and nice. Good. Nice and not nice. Evil. Ashar, what was you gonna say?
I was gonna say, sir, they basically call themselves ugly.
Give the brother a hand. Brother, if you can't hear that online, the brother preaching officer Ashar said that they are calling themselves ugly. So like y'all surround, is that what you was gonna say?
God, but I break it out with Kevin. When the sister said that the dog was ugly, he asked her, which one looks like you? And she felt ashamed when she said the dog like me. So knowing that the dog would look like her, she self-reflected that she's bad. She's ugly.
Give him a hand. Give him a hand. Water. Thank you. That was heavy. Because that was the perfect word, ashamed. Here she is, and the little boy too. Here they are answering the questions honestly. Who's ugly? The black one. Who's pretty? The white one. Who's nice? The white one. Who's mean? The black one. Then he later on asked, who do you look like? And she didn't even want to say it. Now, how old do you think they are?
5, 6.
Babies. Wouldn't you agree that these are babies?
Right.
They don't have the knowledge to know to pick up a gun and not pick up a gun. They don't know that shit. Their minds isn't that developed. These are just babies that 3, 2, 4. At this young, they know what? I'm ugly. I'm evil. I'm mean. White is good. White is, I'm ashamed of being black. Remember, the scripture says in Isaiah 45:17, thou will be saved in a world, an everlasting salvation, where you will not be ashamed nor confounded again.
Right.
There's a world coming to this place that is going to be ruled by Christ, where white babies are going to be sitting down and they're going to say, the white man is the devil. Black people are beautiful. Black, Hispanic, and Native Indian is good, and white people are bad hombres. That world is coming. That's the world in John 3:16 that Christ died for. Now you see why we are the ones who need salvation. Because we don't even like who we are. We're ashamed of who we are. We're confounded, confused of where we come from. Now, do you think they did this on white kids, just so you know. Do you think white kids failed this test? You don't even have to answer it because it teaches itself. You know that white children said what? I'm pretty. I'm beautiful. This black doll is ugly. It's disgusting. It's vile. It's soot. This white doll is pure and holy and fair. That word fair does not mean white. But if you ask a 10-year-old, what does the word fair mean? It means fair skin means light skin, beautiful skin. Why? Because of Stockholm syndrome, because of post-traumatic slave disorder.
Right.
Our oppressor just changed words to mean things that benefit him. And because of that, we think fair means what? Beautiful. I'm just telling you, I gave you the answer. We think fair means white. Fair means beautiful. My fair lady, excuse me, my fair lady, that means beautiful. But we think it means light, and we equate that white to beauty, which is why we say, well, fair is light skin. Because light skin and white is beautiful. That's not true. The white baby is the ugly baby.
That's right.
That is the oppressor. That is the future Donald Trump. The black baby is beautiful.
That's right.
That's your future Gladys West.
Right.
That's your future Henry Clarks. That's your future Dr. George Washington Carver. The black baby. That white baby's going to wage war with Iraq and Iran. He's going to end the planet Earth when he grows up.
Right.
Our people don't know that. You know what our people think? I hate who I am. Now, let this be a lesson to when you were a kid. None of us will admit to this, but all of us, virtually all of us, hated who we are. We hated where we came from. We wanted to be born with a different family. Don't let me be the only one that I ain't love. Let me not say that. I love my family. I love my father and mother. But brother, you grow up in the ghetto, you see all of the whores and the drugs and your family going in and out of jail. Like I still remember going, what is that, Leavenworth, like shot a courtroom. That's in Leavenworth. I never will forget seeing my cousin I was 7 years old. Something that always sticks to me, I was seeing my cousin, my aunt, her mother come out and say, she held up 10 fingers. One of my aunts said, Yolanda, how much time did they give her? And she came out crying and she said 10 fingers. She had up they gave her 10 years. Imagine seeing that 7, 8, not every year. You go into a funeral for your cousin who was shot in a drive-by every single year. 12 years old, your friend's dead. Who do you think you're going to choose? Who do you think is pretty and beautiful? If we don't teach our children our culture, our history, and how beautiful and excellent being black and brown is, the next generation of black children, they're going to choose the white dog. You do this test at home with your kids. Do it at home with your children. See if they choose the white. I don't care how old they are. They can be 8, they can be 18. Sit them down and ask them. Say, I want to ask you a question. Put a white dog and a brown dog in front of them. And say, who's the pretty dog? Who's the ugly dog? Who's the mean dog? Who's the liar? Who's the thief? You'd be surprised what your children would do. I've done it on my boys when they were young. The moment I heard Jeremiah say, I thank the Lord, they were all born in the truth, so I called it very, very young. Guess what, my oldest, he might be here in the crowd now, he chose the white dog. I said, who's pretty? That one. Who's the honest one? Who looks nice? Who is nice? The white one, Daddy. I got work to do. I got work to do. The white man is the devil, the Bible speaks. That's right. White one is ugly, brown one is beautiful, and everything about this doll is terrible. This doll will unalive you. This doll is you. Aren't you beautiful? Aren't you pretty? Look at that brown skin. Look at that nappy hair. That is how you reverse this curse. And also, doing what? Doing what we're about to do next. Teaching them the history of our people and the innovations and inventions they created. Now, let's exit out of that and go back. Okay, let me see if I can just... Can I do that? Yes, I can. Most High Christ. I'm trying to learn this thing here. All right, here we go. For thou art an holy people unto the Lord thy God. The Lord thy God hath chosen thee to be a special people unto himself, above all people that are upon the face of the earth. This is in the Bible. Our grandmothers and grandfathers had this Bible. They never taught us that the Lord chose us to be a special people. The Lord chose blacks, Hispanics, and Native Indians to be above everyone else. We didn't learn this in the Christian church. It took us to come into the hands of commanding General Yohana so we can learn the truth of who we really are. Because before that, we chose the white dog. Now you know who we choose. Who we. Let's keep going. Here we go. Let's go on to the next. Remember, the second major point that we're going to cover is the hidden gems that are in our race. The excellency that we have being black and Hispanic. Now we're going to go over a topic that is so beautiful because this is how you begin to esteem your children. This is how you begin to reverse that post-traumatic slave disorder. You got to give them heroes out. Right. You have to give your children people that they can look up to in an industry other than music and entertainment. Let me blow your mind. Let me hurt everybody's heart. I do not have any black entertainers and brown entertainers in this lecture. Does anybody want to know why? Because that's all we think we can be.
Right.
Our children don't think they can be anything other than a rapper or a basketball player or a football player. There's nothing wrong with those professions, but we have created an entire generation of children who all they want to be now, me and Elisha and Brother Quinaya, we were all talking about it. These kids now that's born now, they want to be what? Instagram stars.
Right.
Am I lying, Captain McCall? They want to be TikTok sensations. They want to be internet, what are they called?
Influences.
They want to be social media influencers. Thank you, Lyle. Can you imagine a world in 20 years ago where we would say, man, I want to be on the internet and I'm making tons of money on the internet. I don't know anything. I don't go to school. I failed all my classes in school, but I just want to be a social media star. I want to be an internet sensation. Could you imagine that? That is how low our self-esteem is. The bar is so low to just Michael Jordan, LeBron James, and this is no hate to those brothers. You understand? They did the best they could with being in the world. But see, we have chose a different path. And we know from being the ISUPK that brothers and sisters are destined for better than being a basketball player or a football player, tossing a pigskin around the field for oppressors to get richer. That is not who we're going to be. We're going to be blacks and Hispanics who are going to be this, who's going to fulfill this here, the salt of the earth. This scripture, this is Christ. I couldn't get it in red, but this is Christ speaking here in Matthew chapter 5, verse 13. He says, ye are the salt of the earth. But if the salt have lost his savor, wherewith shall it be salted? It is forth good for nothing, but to be cast out and to be trodden under foot of men. This was our king, a black man from the tribe of Judah, who sits on the throne of David, who told us we are the best things on this earth. We give the earth flavor, brother. We give it flavor. Sister, we give it flavor. When you think about who's the best at anything, it's black people.
That's right.
There is nobody better than blacks, Hispanics, and Native Indians at anything in life. And we're going to go in. You thinking now, you're just thinking entertainment. That's why I didn't include it. Because right now you're thinking of Whitney Houston, and you're thinking of, Jay-Z is the greatest rapper. But what about the best doctors? What about the best military generals, fighter pilots in World War I? Who are the best at doing those jobs? See, you limit yourself, we limit ourselves to just being who our oppressor wants us to be. But brother, sister, we are far better than that. We are the salt of the earth. And this is what Christ goes on to say. If the salt has lost its savor, can I be honest with you, brothers and sisters? We have lost our savor. We have lost. If salt doesn't have that salty taste, you will throw it the hell away. You ain't gonna put it on your food to make the food taste better, which is what the metaphor is here. It lost its savor. It's not good anymore. It's not worth anything. Remember, a long time ago, does anyone know how people were paid? Salt, which is where you have the term salary. Sol, Latin salt. Salt was so much of a commodity, so much of a treasure. That was the currency on the earth at one time. Our King Christ is saying, if that salt has lost its savor, what good is it? What good are we if we don't know our history? What good are we if we don't know who we are? What good are we if we don't take pride in our race? We've lost our savor too. Now the world just knows us as who? Megan Thee Stallion. Now the world just knows us as Big Meech. Now we're known as the Crips, the Bloods. Chicago is known to be bad. Why? Because of Muggsy Bogues? Because of Al Capone? Why does Chicago have such a negative connotation to it when everyone talks about Chicago? Because of black people and Hispanics that live there. Right. Not because of the white politicians who are corrupt in Chicago for the last 118 years, but because of the black boys who are poor, who have no power over their situation, who live on Oak Block, who are from Cabrini Green, who are from all 63rd and all the projects, same here. The white people who gentrified Kansas City, they're not responsible for who we become. Everyone knows Kansas City to be bad. Why? Because of who we are. Well, listen, we've lost our savor. Brothers and sisters, it's time for us to get our salt back. We got to be flavorful again. Listen, we have salt, meaning we can pass, we make the earth great. But in specific, this is speaking about who we are. We are the Israelites. We're more than just entertainers. We are God's chosen people. Does everyone understand? If we don't learn that, then we have lost our savor.
Right.
Everyone understand?
Oh,
The
God.
portion of Jacob is not like, this is Jeremiah 10 and 16. The portion of Jacob is not like them, for he is the former of all things. What does that mean? Anybody know what that means? Jacob. Anybody know who Jacob is? Let me start there. Anybody know who Jacob is? Don't know. If you're at the UPK, don't answer. Anybody that is not in the school know who Jacob is. Sis, are you in the school? The sister back there with the bud on top of your head. Are you in the school? No, are you in the ISUPK? Do you know who Jacob is in the Bible? Okay, no sweat, sis. He was a black man. He was the progenitor of blacks, Hispanics, and Native Indians. That's who you are. You familiar with the Bible? He was the brother who got his name changed to Israel. That's the Israelites. That's who the father he is. He had 12 sons, and they represent so-called blacks, Hispanics, and Native Indians. The Bible says that he is not like them. Jacob, blacks, Hispanics, and Native Indians are not like the other races of people.
Right.
He is the former of all things. Jacob, Israel, blacks, Hispanics, and Native Indians, we create. We started everything. We create things. We form these things. The sciences that we now know, the technologies that we now benefit from. That is who we are. That is what we do. That is who the salt is. And Israel is the rod of his inheritance. The Most High, the Lord of hosts, is his name. Listen, brother, we are the Lord's inheritance. That word there is Mataya Allah, the rod of the Lord. Anybody know why that staff or that rod is so important to our culture? Because that is who you pass that staff down to your sons. It has their lineage on there. This is so-and-so from the tribe of Judah. This is Kayash, Ban God, Ban Yasha Allah. He's going to pass it down to his son, so-and-so, Ban God, and then it just keeps on going, keeps on going, keeps on going. That is who we are. Well, the Bible says that we are the Lord's staff of inheritance. Right. We will receive the inheritance from the Lord because we're his chosen people. We are the ones who form everything. Everything. We started. We started. You got engines and the medical advancements we use. The medical advancements we use. Those were all done by prominent black, Hispanic, and Indian figures. Right. And that's what we're going into right now. Now we're going to uncover the truth behind the race of people who made life better. What's another word for made life better? Salted. We salted the earth, brother. Ooh, we best believe we salted the earth. Better for everyone in the following subjects and fields. Nobility. I believe I remember why you had a lecture about black people ruling, right? You had a lecture sometime. What was your lecture about? Okay, no sweat. I heard you speaking on Roundtable of Truth. Brother speak in the brother hand. The brother speaks so eloquently. He spoke. I heard that brother talking about nobility. I said, oh, yeah, that's I would love the bar. That brother talking about black people ruling, and that was beautiful. Why? Because you know what our children think? All we were was slaves. They don't know about us ruling in the past, ruling in Europe, ruling in Spain, ruling in parts of Asia. They don't know about that. The Lord is up to teach them about a couple of figures in each field. The nobility, STEM fields, oppression time, medicine, and military. All right, let's go. Let's get through it. Contrary to popular belief, blacks, Hispanics, blacks and Latinos, and Native Indians, we have ruled kingdoms in the earth throughout history. Does anybody know, like Irish? This is something that's so heavy. The Irish, they always tell us what? The Irish were slaves. They think, when Irish people think of their history, guess what they think of? White Irish. Do you know what their names, their surnames are? Their surnames mean black. This is an example right here. The surname McDuff originates from Scotland. So those are two different countries, Scotland and Ireland. And is derived from the Gaelic McDuff, meaning son of the black. All those, let's give me some more Irish names. Macbeth, McDuff, McSomething, McCormick, McThis. Brother, those were black people who had, I got this book right here, Nature Knows No Color Line. This came from another book, I have it in the bibliography at the end. But this book here, Nature Knows No Color Line, this has the coat of arms of so many black families of nobility that ruled the early United Kingdom, that ruled before our oppressors took charge. Men like King James, who we'll get to in a second, right? That name, McDuff or McDuff, that means son of the black. And it says here, now check this out, look at this. The complexion, right? natural color, texture, and appearance of the skin of face. Duff, a surname adopted from the Celtic, in which language the word means black. Sibald, in the history of Fife, says that as Niger and Rufus were names of families amongst the Romans, from the color and complexion of men. Check that out. We had leaders in the Roman Empire, the Roman military, in the Italian band like Cornelius. We had black people who ruled in Scotland. We have the coat of arms and the proof right here in books like this. Coat of arms of black people. The coat of arms are full of black people. In Spain and in Ireland and in Scotland and Rome. This is who we are. We've ruled in other kingdoms. Don't just think. Don't ever teach your children, well, all we were was slaves.
Right.
And also, don't listen, we are not Africans. Right. Let's clear that up right now. We are not Africans. Right? We are the Negroes and the Hispanics and Native Indians. We are not the Africans. Black people, not Africans. That is what this is. Scotland, the Wales, Great Britain. Everyone understands? Let's keep going. St. Maurice. Anybody ever seen this picture before? I know if you're in the UPK, you have. We historians in here. St. Maurice. It says here that he was a Christian soldier whose alleged martyrdom with the comrades inspired a cult still practiced today. Among the martyred with him were SS Vitalis, Canada's Experience. He is the patron saint of the Vatican Swift Guard. I've been to Rome. I've been to Italy. In those catacombs, just like in the Smithsonian Museum here in America, they have these records hidden away from us. They have records like this hidden away, where you have black saints. You know what black Catholics in Louisiana do? And Mexicans, and remember this is black and brown excellence. Our brothers and sisters from the Latino tribes are heavy Catholics. Father God, Holy Mary, Holy Mother Mary of God, please, Father God, help us. And they rub that stupid rosary bead as if that would do something. And they pray to all of these saints. Here's a saint that I bet you didn't know, who was a saint in the Vatican, who was a Swiss Guard, a black man named St. Maurice. This is who our people are. It says that during the Dark Ages, there were hundreds of black men and women that ruled Europe, such as King James I, who, come on, we out of UPK, we went west.
Right.
That was a Negro.
Right.
You understand? And his lineage that followed were Negroes, who was a black man that descended from the Tudor family. That book, I have it in the bibliography, the book where I got these things from. I have it all, it's going to be at the end, so just bear with me. So I got the proof, but this is one of those books that I used that was the Nation Knows No Color Line. This is one of the books on the ISUPK reading list, and it's by J.A. Rogers. All right, let's keep going. Right. This is one of the coat of arms right here. And you know what's so heavy about this, and that Nation Knows No Color Line? It documents and highlights this is the head of a Negro. It says that. When you do the research and the study, there's a coat of arms for white rulers. There's a coat of arms for black rulers. They don't look the same. This is one of the ones, St. Peter, who was black. This is what he looks like. And it says in the book, it says the head, the nobility head of a Negro. This here was Queen, I got to get this book and see. This was, like, bear with me. I probably should have put it at the bottom. I got it right here. It's that, once again, we bring the proof in UPK. Let me see. This was, what did he call her? Give me 1 second. Just bear with me, bear with me. I want to get y'all the names. Of course, everybody knows on the left side. Who was that on the left side? Someone blur out who that is on the left side. King James. Everybody in the UPK knows he was black. Say it again. Who said something? Sounds like somebody wanted to add on to that. This lady here, this sister here, this is Queen Charlotte Sophia. She was a consort of King George III and a grandmother of Queen Victoria. That's a sister, man. This is who our people are. Everyone understand? We had rulership in the times of old, but these things are forgotten about. These things are not taught to our children because our people don't know them. Let's keep going. Now we're going into the STEM fields. Anybody know what the word STEM stands for? It stands for, you know what, buddy? Not go ahead, buddy, man.
Science, what is it, like science, technology, it's got to do with that.
Engineer, yeah, give him a hand. Science, technology, engineering, and mathematics. Now we're going into the STEM fields. Black people who made amazing advancements in science, technology, engineering, and mathematics. This is a brother who a lot of us don't remember, who don't know about. This is Elijah McCoy.
Right.
Anybody ever heard that phrase, the real McCoy? Our oppressors stole that from this brother here, who created. Well, let's read about it. Right? Elijah McCoy, born on the 2nd, 1843. Remember, at a specific time in history, our people could not have birth certificates because we were born slaves. So, brothers and sisters, they would know around about age they were, but they couldn't give you a definite answer. So when you do research on older black people in history before Reconstruction era, there were no birth certificates kept for them because they were cattle, right? So it has question marks because they don't, it's around 1843, right? He was born in Canada. He died October 10th, 1929 in Nankin Township. It says that he was an inventor of the device that lubricated the steam engines. He lived during the time where the railroad, the transcontinental railroad, it stretched from far across America, began to go to Mexico and Canada, which is where he was from. But they had an issue, right? The steam engines had a big issue. Just like on a car engine, it lubricates. Why? Because you change its oil.
Right.
Well, before, you would have to go and physically have to go lubricate the engine for the locomotive. This brother developed something that absolutely transformed the transcontinental railroad. So much so that it sped up the delivery time. It's just like Amazon delivery drivers now. The railroad was like Amazon delivery right now. You didn't have cars. Before the railroad track, you had horse and buggy. That's how things got to you.
Right.
Mail got to you from horse and buggy. And so because of that, our oppressor created the railroad. And now he created this engine, but the engine was not lubricating like a car engine is now. This brother had to go and create something that was McCoy's invention, were considered so outstanding that customers reportedly asked for the real McCoy. Because, as our oppressor does during this time, as he is inventing this thing that lubricates the engine, guess what our oppressor was doing? He was stealing his invention. Stealing it like he does now. That's why you have that phrase, well, I want the real McCoy. Because you would go to some charlatan like Donald Trump, who's a terrible businessman, and you would go to his store and he would say, well, let me get that engine, lubricating engine part. And they'll sell you some garbage. And you would say, well, there's some white person on the job gonna say, well, did you go to the real McCoy? You gotta go get the real McCoy. You gotta go to this black man that invented it. You can't go get the fake thing. And that's where that phrase comes from, the real McCoy. Let's keep going. It says he patented his invention, an automatic lubricator for steam engines, which was referred to as the lubricating cup. That's what it's called. The oil drip cup, or simply the lubricator. The device used a small reservoir and a wick to deliver a steady flow of oil to the moving parts of the engine. The wick was designed to release the oil at a controlled rate, ensuring that the parts were always lubricated without the need of manual intervention. This is why cars can function, because of the real McCoy, because of this brother Elijah McCoy. Your engine in the car, you would have to change your oil every time you would go out to drive it if it wasn't for this brother creating this lubricating cup. This prompted the innovation of all the other engines. Steam engines, the car engine, gas-powered engine, all of these things have to be oiled because it's metal rubbing together. This brother created something where you don't have to stop every day to lubricate and oil it. Now you know what that does? It cuts time in half. Right. Now you're able to just push that locomotive down from, what was that from, it was a route that they used to go. It used to pass right through here, through Kansas City. It would go from like LA to the Wild West, all the way to New York. And that's how mail was delivered. That's how parts were delivered. That's how livestock was carried through. Because a cab and buggy, a horse and buggy just took too long. This brother is what helped push America far above all the other countries in the world. Because at this time, you had Germany, you had Great Britain, you had countries that were also forming their transcontinental railroads in their own land. And countries are always at war with each other, always in competition with each other. So America, if you don't have a reliable system of transportation in your country, things cannot be built. Things cannot get done. If it takes 5 months for a horse to deliver this lumber to Massachusetts, things don't get done. This, brother, is what propelled America far beyond every other country. Because guess what happened after his self-lubricating system, the lubricating cup? America began to do what? Began to create more and build more. They grew New York. They grew the East Coast. They grew the Midwest. Now those places I just named are known as what? Industrial belts.
Right.
Chicago, Gary, Indiana, all of those steel mills, Pittsburgh, the Steelers. That's because of this brother right here. America was propelled and thrust forward because of a black man creating a lubricating cup for the locomotive engine. Let's keep going. Everybody know who this is. This brother here, George Washington Carver, which he has a very sad story. It's people say, this is just folklore. I still haven't seen any proof to validate this claim, but I have heard people say, because he was born to slaves, he was born right here in Missouri, and a white family from Iowa adopted him. I've heard people say and make claims that they castrated him so that he would not have sex with their white daughter. I have not found. Now listen, it's the oppressor, so I don't put nothing past him.
Right.
I believe it if I see it. If I see one piece of evidence that says it, I'm gonna come to you, my yard. If there's one piece of evidence that says it, I'll believe it. But I just haven't seen any foundational proof. Go ahead, my yard.
So I heard a recording of the brother speaking.
Who? George Washington Carver?
Okay. I gotta find it. But he talked in a very, very unnatural, high-pitched voice.
It's high-pitched, but that doesn't always, he could have got injured in the songs when he was a baby. You get what I'm saying? That's why I said you can't prove that, so I can't teach it. And here, if we teach it, we can prove it. So this brother was adopted by a white family. He could have possibly been hurt by that white adopted family. But this brother here, George Washington Carver, he was born here in Missouri at the time of the Civil War. Just like Elijah McCoy, his exact birth date and year are unknown, and a reported date and reported dates range between 1860 and 1865. He was orphaned as an infant, and with the war bringing an end to slavery, he grew up a free child, albeit on the farm of his mother's former master, Moses Carver. The Carvers raised George and gave him their surname. Early on, he developed a keen interest in plants, collecting specimens in the woods on the farm, just like any inquisitive black or Hispanic child, like they are, which is why I brought up at the beginning of this lecture, Dr. Joy DeGrew's proof of post-traumatic slave disorder. Because a lot of times, with us having Stockholm syndrome, we can absolutely hinder the growth of our children. You may think, well, he don't need to learn that. That's too much for him at that age. Let him learn it.
Right.
Let him explore. Let her explore so they can be the next George Washington Carver. This is a picture with him at Tuskegee in Alabama, at Tuskegee Institute, the HBCU. It says, Dr. Carver established an agricultural extension in Alabama and founded an industrial research lab where he worked tirelessly on the development of hundreds of applications for new plants. Carver discovered more than 300 uses for peanuts and hundreds more uses for soybeans, pecans, and sweet potatoes. Does anybody know how he got invited to Tuskegee Institute? Mississippi, man. When you plant cotton, what happens to the earth? When you plant cotton, the year after you plant it and harvest it, does anybody know what happens to it? The soil gets depleted from its nutrients. So you can't plant at the same location you planted that cotton the year before. You have to go find a new place to plant cotton. Everyone understand? Yes, so now he created a way for the soil not to be depleted of all of its nutrients. So it made white Southerners who grew cotton and farmers who grew cotton more money, because now they didn't have to go to another plot of land to plant cotton. They can use that same plot of land to plant cotton. That same plot of land to plant cotton. And that's what he did. And so because of those works, He was invited to be a professor of the chemistry department, science department of Tuskegee Institute. And he was invited by white colleges too. White people were so enthralled and just was in amazement of this black brother, this brother here, George Washington Carver, of his advancements in botany and chemistry, that they just had to have him speak to their students to teach them how can we make agricultural science better for Europe. And that's what George Washington did. George Washington Carver did. All right, let's keep going. Mae Jemison. Right, Louis. Like y'all know me, you know, but every sister's a lot here. This sister here spoke 8 languages. She went to college at Stanford when she was 15 years old. This sister don't have a man. This is what y'all know. She's still alive. She's single. Brother, give her a flower, bring her to the truth. It says that she was born October 17, 1956 in Decatur, Alabama. She was the youngest of 3 children. When she was 3, the family moved to Chicago, Illinois. Even as a young girl, Jemison was deeply interested in science. She graduated high school at 16, I said 15. She received a scholarship and attended Stanford in California, and she graduated there with a degree in chemical engineering. She was only one of 15 out of 2,000 applicants accepted by NASA. Jemison entered NASA's astronaut program in 1987. Do you know what qualified her to get to the NASA space program? The fact that she was a doctor. Anybody know what, we always hear about Mae Jemison. What exactly did she do in space? The sister went to outer space to study the effects of outer space on the human body. How she got the nod to get the approval to be a NASA engineer, an astronaut at NASA? Because before she started her career at NASA, she was a doctor in Africa. The books that Africans still use on malaria and different diseases in their region is because Dr. Mae Jemison is the one who researched it and published it. She impressed NASA so much. She spoke Japanese, Russian, Chinese, French, Spanish, Portuguese. She speaks 8 languages. 16 years old, a doctor in Africa, writing the books they still use for the Africans today. NASA noticed it. She applied, they hired her right on the spot. 15 out of, 200? 15 out of 2,000 applicants. When she went to outer space, she began to study what gravity does to the human body. NASA still uses her research today, and that is how NASA knows this is what happens when you eat this in outer space. This is what happens when you work out in outer space. This is how much muscle atrophy is attributed to the human body when you don't work out. You can thank Mae Jemison for that. A black woman. Give her a hand. Damn right. She ain't, she wasn't working. So like she wasn't putting brothers on child support. She was focused. She grew up where? In Alabama. What do you think she saw in the 1950s in Alabama? Hardship, trouble, hard scrabble background. They moved where? To Chicago. There's Chicago school. And got the mark card. Shot She moved up there with her family, and she got to work out from a young age. Right. And now she is known as the woman, the doctor, who made these medical documents so that now NASA astronauts still follow them. That's Dr. Mae Jemison. Let's keep going. This is a so-called Northern Tribe brother, Spanish-speaking brother, right? Issacharite, Raza. It says in 1934, we all like the television. We're looking at the damn television right now on this screen. Right. Television's over here. Television's on our phone. This brother is the reason behind that. He's the reason behind it. He designed and built a color television transmission system, an achievement that showcased his remarkable talent and potential. His invention, known as the chromoscopic adapter for television equipment, was capable of transmitting color images over television waves. Who would have known that the bad hombres that devil Donald Trump called are the people who give you color on television? Right. This is the bad hombre. Right. Meanwhile, some 16-year-old white boy down south in Alabama or Tennessee just last week was caught violently abusing a 7-year-old autistic girl on the back of a school bus. That white boy, he's not a bad hombre. Right. The Mexicans come over here and make life better for everybody. Right. He gave you color television. They build your house and build your roads. Now they're bad hombres. The white man is the bad hombre. That's the terrible person. These brothers and sisters work and innovate to make life better for all of us. These are things we use every day, and we do not know who's behind them, but we should. We absolutely should. I got to skip ahead just a little bit for time's sake. I'm going to roll through these. Dr. Gladys West, right? Beautiful older sister. She was another NASA engineer. These black women out. Come on, brother. I don't know what these sisters is doing, man. You sisters need to be in school for chemistry and STEM, science, technology, engineering, and mathematics. Do it all. Sisters got too much time on their hands, they look at their phone now. Put them in school. Put them in school so they can be Gladys West and Mae Jemison. Right. Then they listen, guess what? Then your career gonna bring on an engineer's salary. And you'll be able to do some work around here. We need a school. You know we need a school. We need a school. Where are the sisters that are Gladys? And look, she got the glasses on. Gladys is wearing sister. And she's sophisticated at sagacity. Where are you sisters with this? I know where y'all at. Y'all in UPK. Bring them in here and push these sisters to go to school so they can be Gladys West. Right. They can create things and glorify this school and glorify the Most High God. That's right. Glorify their people. Now, guess what? Most High Christ, we all get to benefit from what they've accomplished. The same way the Arabs can benefit from the algebra person. Algebra was invented by the Arabs. Arabs get to gloat in that. Why can't we gloat in what our people have done? We don't even know what they've done. This is what she did. She rose through the ranks at NSWCDD. She worked on the satellite. Everybody pull your phone out. You got your phone? Pull your phone out. If you got that terrible iPhone, that Apple, no offense. If you got that Apple, go to Apple Maps. If you got the amazing Android, go to Google Maps. Right? She's the reason why you have Google Maps and global positioning satellite. This doctor is a sister who helped create and invent GPS for the United States Army. That is the reason you have the GPS. Her, Dr. Gladys West. Our sisters are whores? I don't think so. Right. Our sisters are bad mothers? They're stupid? I don't think so. Right. I think all our people need are self-esteem. That's right. That's what I think we need. And it will be nothing we could not accomplish. With that, let's keep going. This sister, Dr. Alexa Kennedy, here's another sister. She made breakthroughs in neurosurgery. She is a neurosurgeon. It says that this research led to the invention. I got to kind of go fast, so I'm going to read through it. This research led to the invention of a programmable anti-siphon shunt to treat hydrocephalus. Hydro is water. Cephalus is the swelling of the head. You know when babies or people, they have so much fluid in their head, it swells, it looks funny. She created a shunt to put inside the human mind so that the swelling can go down. This sister did that. A neurosurgeon. She's the first black female neurosurgeon in America. Dr. Alexis Kennedy. Let's keep going. Dr. Charles Drew. You give blood, you give, the Red Cross before. Okay, go on. Before that's what I'm speeding through, so I hear. Dr. Charles Drew. Anybody gives blood during the Great Wars, World War I and World War II, guess what happened? So many soldiers died because there was no blood. This brother, Dr. Charles Drew, he's the reason why you can get plasma and blood and no blood types, and now you put it down on Precious Military, they put it on their dog tags. So when they get hurt, you simply were able to give them a bag of blood. He's the reason that saved soldiers' lives in war. So now everywhere after World War II, he's the reason why you can donate blood for a soldier. That's the original reason for Red Cross. Because during the war, blood was needed. But nobody knew how to transport it. No one knew how to do it. No one knew how to separate the plasma from the whatever the red blood cell is. He's the doctor who innovated that and invented that system. Dr. Charles Drew. Let's keep going. The military, briefly I can go over this. I know this very well. The Navajo Code Talkers, Kayak. You want to come over here and talk about the Navajo Code? Talking about brothers, a hardcore stone. Well, the Navajo Code Talkers were Native American Indians in World War I and World War II that they came up with codes in their native language where they helped America win the wars. The Japanese, the French were not able to understand what the Navajo was saying, and so they benefited, America benefited from them greatly. And now Donald Trump throws all their records in the trash. Now you don't even remember. That's the thanks you get for serving your country, blacks and Hispanics. That's the thanks you get. But these brothers are the reason why America won World War II. Them and the Red Tails are the reason America won.
Right.
This is, I believe, is the last one. Yep, that's the last one. Okay. This is Ofc.Malak. This brother killed so many French soldiers in World War I. He earned the name the Black Swallow of Death in French. He was in the French Foreign Legion. He was a black aviator for the French Foreign Legion, the first one ever in world history. He slaughtered so many enemies to the French that he got the name in French, the Black Swallow of Death. The book, the biography on his life, when I was doing the research on him, the biography on his life is $1,600. That's how important this brother, I had time, this brother went through a childhood with his father. He rose to be a spy for America after all of these medals and these achievements he gained in the French Foreign Legion. Like, brother, we are people who in every aspect of life, we're able to achieve because we're the salt of the earth. Yeah. Now, the impact on our posterity. What now do we need to do? Our people need to do this outside of the UK. You got to get into these classes. Call this number. You're in Kansas City. This is the number to our school in Kansas City. Get in these classes all over the world in this school, so now your children won't choose the white dog. Right. Now they'll choose the black dog. Right. Now our children will have esteem in themselves. Now our children will be able to achieve the things that our people in the former generation were able to achieve. That happens when you come into the ranks under command and junior army. That's right. With that, Most High Christ. We got to clear the questions and answers. We're going to even get up out of here. But if anybody has a question, real quick, you can just ask the question. You got a question, sis? Go ahead.
So earlier you were talking about how
you can turn the lights on, Karyash. I'm listening to you, sis.
How mothers like whenever they get a compliment from like the professor, they seem to beat down.
Do you want to come up here, sis? Come up here. Let me give you the mic. Come on. Has anybody got any questions after her? We can start wrapping it up. Y'all can keep the film going. I'm just saying, for the audience watching, you got to be out of here by 2 so we can start wrapping everything up, cleaning up. Go ahead, sis.
Whenever I was in school, I was talking to one of my black friends, and he told me that slavery was so bad that newborn babies, their mothers would instantly kill them because they didn't want to go through the process of slavery. I was wondering, is because of that disorder you were talking about earlier, is that why women today have abortions?
Give it, Sister Hank. That's a beautiful question. Can I give you the answer, sister? Yes. The same oppression we face in slavery is the same oppression our sisters face today. And because of the lies from our oppressor, our sisters think that they have to commit abortion instead of having the children because of how hard their life they think will be. But in the truth, when you come into the ISUPK, you learn there's nothing more precious than that baby. You do whatever you have to do to have that child. That's right. We don't live in chattel slavery anymore. You understand, sis? There's no reason for you to unalive that baby. But the lies from the Black Christian church and the lies from our oppressor, we think we do. Our sisters think they do. They think they don't have support or love or help. They don't think that they have the responsibility to take care of it, but guess what, little sis? They absolutely do. So that's a good point, a good question. Give her a hand. Anything else? All right, with that, I would like to thank everybody for coming. Most High Christ, the water for another successful lecture, everyone. Shalom to the brothers. How about you now? Shout out to come to the brothers. How about you now? Come, shout out to the sisters. The water, Most High Christ.